Is 3 cylinders enough? We take a look at our new Ford Fiesta, a look again at the Chevrolet Impala. We talk about our Maserati Ghibli and the new Jeep Renegade. We also answer your questions and comments next on Talking Cars. Hi everybody and welcome to Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm Tom Muchler.
I'm Gabe Shenhar.
And I'm John Lincove.
First off, I want to say thank you to all those people who watched and listened to Talking Cars number 25, our top picks episode. We had a lot of people see it, over 10,000 hits on YouTube within a week and over 100 comments. We will get to a lot of those comments and questions later in the show. But first I want to talk about some of the new cars we have around the track. One of them has only 3 cylinders, the Ford Fiesta.
Yes, you get 3 cylinders, and actually you pay more for it to get 1 cylinder less. It's a 1 liter turbo.
I pay 1 cylinder less, I pay and get a turbo, $995 more.
Right, and supposedly you're supposed to get better fuel economy with it. I will say though that this 3-cylinder is probably the best 3-cylinder engine that I've driven. It's pretty free of the...
That's kind of damning with faint praise though.
Maybe, but it's totally unobjectionable, and you're not going to know it's a 3-cylinder. It's free of the vibrations that are typical to a 3-cylinder.
Unlike the Mitsubishi Mirage, which is just
which is a sputtering little scooter engine. And but here's the thing that I don't get. I don't think the 3-cylinder is the problem here. I mean, I've been driving this car and I can't get more than 31, 32 miles per gallon on my commute with it. And that's pretty much what you get with a Mazda 3 or even a Mazda 6 or a Honda Accord for that matter. So
yeah,
this is really what I don't get.
That's not so good. What do you think, John?
I like the sports car way, pay more, get less, for lightweight and speed. I would say some people might want it for a little station car. It's expensive as a station car.
Yeah, our car was $18,720. Now it does have automatic climate control. It does have heated seats. Only one position. But anyway, I mean, still, that's a lot of money for not much car.
Hyundai Elantra category. You can get a lot of vehicles that are really nice.
Although
substantial.
I'd argue it's probably quieter than a Hyundai Elantra.
It might be.
Yeah, there's not much going on under there.
I mean, among
there's nothing to make noise under the hood.
Among subcompacts, it's probably the only one that I can take on my long commute.
Chevy Sonic?
Not so much.
Not so much.
I mean, in terms of ride, handling, quietness, feeling of a pretty solid, substantial car, it's not bad. Yeah,
no, I'm with you, but I'm also bothered about the fuel economy. I think you got about 32 on your commute. I got maybe around 35. The rating's 37. I'm getting a sinking feeling it's going to be another. We haven't done the formal fuel economy testing. I get the feeling it's going to be another Ford little EcoBoost engine that doesn't live up to what the numbers are.
I have that hunch.
Yeah, and I also agree with you. For this 18 grand, or almost 19 grand, I can get a Mazda 3, which is a much bigger car, much more comfortable car.
Right.
So yeah, we'll find out in the end how all the numbers work out. It's not. I agree with you. It's a very refined as far as 3-cylinder. Odd number engines usually don't work well.
Usually, that's right. And I think this engine is coming to the Focus as well.
It is.
It's already in Europe.
Yep. Which is why we have it here. It's the whole idea of it's global, leveraging
one
global
Ford.
assets.
Right.
I'd be interested in seeing how much money starts going on the hood of the car.
Oh, there's already money on the hood of the car.
So,
there's $1,000. I believe there's $1,000 when we bought it.
Yeah.
Immediately on the hood of the car.
So this is gonna, that's gonna start enticing people into a car, and maybe unfortunately.
It just seems like a very complicated way to get good fuel economy, given what you can do with an Accord or a Mazda 6 or a Mazda 3 for that. But we'll find out. Moving up 1 cylinder count, we have a Chevy Impala 4-cylinder press car. What did you think of that?
I thought it was terrific. I mean, the car.
I did too. I'm so embarrassed. I thought this Impala was great.
The car rides like a luxury car. It's quiet. The 4-cylinder. I mean, it's a 4-cylinder, but it's completely unobtrusive. I think you get enough, just enough oomph out of it. And I mean, it doesn't have the punch of the V6, of course.
No, it's not.
But also, I think it gets the same fuel economy as the V6.
Oh, well, that's not good. I mean, I would have hoped for a little better with the 4-cylinder. But do you drive it?
I haven't driven it. I was in the V6 actually when you guys were in the 4-cylinder, and it's a lovely car. I mean, it's luxurious. That LTZ we have, yes, we have a top spec LTZ, but it's a really nice car, just ergonomically, just comfort-wise, size-wise. I like that. So 4-cylinder, I look forward to driving that.
Oh, and one more thing. The other day we were in Yonkers for a meeting, and I came with an Impala 4-cylinder. I was supposed to switch cars with Jake, who dangled the key of a Mercedes-Benz in front of me. And I looked and said, oh, it's a CLA. Oh, thank you. I'm staying with the Impala.
Wow. Wow. You gave up all of those Mercedes-Benz fans that CR Cars gave at Twitter. Let them know.
Yeah, look under Hell Freezes Over.
Yeah. I'm going to sell all my stocks now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had the Impala over the weekend. It's a very nice car. They really subdued the 4-cylinder. So you don't hear the roar so much. The car we had was really well equipped for $33,000. And I got a bunch of gripe from some of our Talking Cars Twitter fans. Mike London Can said, he said, Tom, you're driving a nerdmobile.
Yeah, well,
No.
fine.
So, okay, thanks,
Maybe.
Mike. No, it's not a nerdmobile. It's an awesome car.
It is.
It's an awesome car.
In fact, with that 33 grand, I mean, that 33 grand, you get micro suede, inserted seats, and you get forward collision warning and heated seats and all sorts of stuff. I would almost rather have that over a Camry V6, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to his point, I mean, there is a juxtaposition between how good that car is and the image that you usually associate with a bow tie brand.
That's right. Jake, his wife drove the car, and she's like, wow, this is an Impala? And she's like, I could never get it because it's an Impala, but wow, it's an Impala.
That's pretty much what my wife said. I mean, she looked out the window. I mean, this is a really nice car, and after she drove it, drives really nicely. But that
You're
Chevy,
fanning the fires of the we only drive 90,000 and above from a couple episodes ago. So
Well, we'll get to the $90,000 car in a minute. No, I mean, it's a great car, and there have been cars that we've tested in the past where we've raved about them, and then you go back to them a month or 2 or 3 later, and like, oh, crap, were we on crack? This car is holding up.
yeah, that LTZ. I mean, you see, the keys are gone regularly in that. It's not sitting in the bottom of the getting ready for sale pile.
That's right,
So,
and that car's holding up too.
well, I have to confess, I've been hogging it for.
I know.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
That's why I mentioned it.
Your bad back and the heated seats and the remote start.
Remote
and the
start
clear
when it's
weather.
like 9 degrees out. Can't beat that.
And that car still feels good. There's been other GM cars. I remember a previous generation CTS that felt so old after about 8,000 miles, just creaky, and the car's holding together. One other comment on the Impala I got from a Twitter fan of ours, from Brian World Champ. Gentlemen, can I ask why no one ripped Chevy for putting a bath mat over the dash and calling it luxury? My mom used to do that with our toilet. Guess what? It still looked like a toilet. I think he's talking about we'll show the picture. He's talking about a padded top and it's stitched around and it.
They have to do something to keep glare off there, to make it look a little different. I mean, I'd rather see something like that than silly compartments up top that have ill-fitting lids that you're not going to store anything in anyway because it's a far reach.
Well, you can stash stuff behind the radio
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
So.
Looks all right to me.
Yeah, it's the same thing as the steering wheel. A lot of people, when the car first came out, you got the internet freaks. They announce a car, you just have the press pictures going around, and they're judging the car based on the press pictures. And they're like, oh, it's got an ugly steering wheel. It's crap. Like, I'm not looking at the wheel when I drive the car.
I'm looking at my phone.
Yeah.
Well, let's just take a few points off here.
Moving on. We're going to go from 4 cylinders to 6 cylinders in our Maserati Ghibli. You drove it last night.
I did. Well, 11 degrees on the road, little leery P0 on the side of the tread.
These tires
And this weather report has been brought to you by.
these tires are extremely sensitive.
Yeah,
to cold weather.
no real swapping, but you could tell they wanted to hook up in warmer weather. It's really sexy looking. It doesn't feel to me like a sexified 300. It feels competent, feels pretty dialed in. I like how Chrysler now uses Maserati switchgear throughout their lineup. That's a nice little touch.
I think you Maserati using great. Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I see what you did there.
I did that. Yeah, I went there. Just like Tesla uses Mercedes switchgear.
They do. Well, so is Maserati, which is Chrysler. Yeah.
So it's nice, but I don't know about it being a 5 A6 E-Class competitor because of the size of the interior, the way it rides, things like that. It's much more, it's stiffer, it's much more aggressive than those cars. My wife said, like, why is it gunning? The transmission shifts were a little not super smooth at times, and it could have been just the weather. But it makes really glorious sounds, and it scared the hell out of my kids this morning when I did a remote start. I just popped it.
How did it scare your kids?
I did a remote start in the garage, and just as my son opened the door, and it went, whoa, and the 2-year-old just has a shit, and my daughter said something like, loud cars, super fast, they were excited about it. But getting them in the car is a pain in the neck. I do like the ISOFIX though. That's really nice. I wish that was on a lot of cars.
Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of perspective. When you view it against an A6 or a 5 Series or an E-Class, I mean, this is not one of those fluffy sedans. I mean, this is a car that you buy because you don't want to get a Corvette or a Porsche 911.
You think so?
You want a 4-door, automatic, sports coupe kind of car. I mean, you don't want to get a Jaguar F-Type.
It's definitely more along the lines of those.
That's the kind of car that it is. And, and Audi, BMW, Mercedes, with all due respect, I mean, they've become commodities in some of the towns around here.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of them. And this car has the exclusivity. It's sexy. It sounds, I mean... That sound is just, I mean, it impacts you. It does something to you. So plays on your. I think the person who tuned that exhaust probably used to work at Stradivarius.
Yeah. I'm going to be doubting Thomas because he hasn't been on in a show for a while.
Neither
neither has John. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good point.
You bring out doubting Thomas. I was really nonplussed by the car. I mean, it just. Again, I drove it for a week, and I got to drive when the weather was warm enough, so if the tires were hooking up, and it was, I could enjoy the car's handling. First of all, I think the best thing about the car is the ability to say, I drive a Maserati.
And with a Ferrari engine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no one needs to know that. I mean, but just to say I drive a Maserati is just a fabulous,
word.
It's a fabulous word.
It is.
It really is. But I drove the car and I'm like, it's heresy. I would have rather been driving a CTS V Sport. This car is fabulous. It makes good sounds when you step on it. If you don't, it just sort of, it's just sort of droning along.
And for people in the rear seat, it's pretty unbearable.
Oh yeah, it feels like a car from the 70s as far as the packaging go. There's a lot of car, not a lot of interior.
I mean, there are some things here that, the Germans would have never let this car out of the gate with that kind of wind noise on the highway.
Yeah, the build quality is not the best. You look at the doors and you can see a line of paint, sort of through the doors. It doesn't all fit great. But I mean, to me the biggest thing was driving the car. It didn't goad me to drive faster. I should rephrase that. I wanted to drive faster just to feel something.
Did you put it in sport mode?
I did, and it just made it louder and stiffer. But
the transmission.
Yeah, but I mean, compared to a CTS V Sport, which is 30 grand less, and I know, Cadillac versus Maserati, it's much better to say I drive a Maserati. Say I drive a Cadillac, you think, oh, you're about to die.
I mean, I think you make this choice not with your head, but with your heart.
No, there's no question. This car is made with your heart, but it's going against some very, if you go against a high-end A6 or A7 or 5 Series, and you look at it logically.
Or a 6 Series.
6 Series is a nice car.
6 Series and S6, stuff like that. You start looking at that.
CLS.
Look, like we talked about with Cadillac, the CTS when it came out, that how many people really carry 4 people in a car like this? Everyone talks about 4-passenger space and such, but you even said it's 1, maybe 2 for the most part. It's not often you're dragging people around in the back. So
maybe the packaging isn't a big deal.
It's a 4-door coupe. Really, that's what it is.
That's true. It's like a Mercedes CLA or CLS. Let's hope it's not like a CLA.
Yeah.
Something I want to talk about briefly. Jake did not pay for us to go to Geneva, so we were not able to see it in person. But maybe the most interesting debut there was the Jeep Renegade.
Yeah.
What is that thing?
That's a Jeep that's based on a Fiat 500L. It's going to be built in Italy. I think it's a brilliant move for Fiat, Chrysler. You take a chassis that already exists and you make a Jeep out of it. I mean, that segment of subcompact SUVs is probably the largest, the fastest growing segment in the world. And I mean, people are going to love it. I mean, it looks cute, at least in pictures. It has
Looks
a
like
Jeep,
a puppy dog with
has a
those.
Jeep name on it.
It's like Special Agent Oso from Disney.
And
It's ugly.
I mean,
Oh,
how
Wow.
it's just
John might not agree with
it
you.
doesn't even have to be good for people to like it.
That's the beauty of Jeep.
it's the beauty of American buying public.
Oh, wow.
Well,
No.
you know, there's a lot of stuff out there that people fall in love with. You know, it's not practical or whatever, or looks, but you know, that's the way it is.
But it might be better in a Patriot or a Compass.
I would hope so, given just that it's newer. I mean, they have to learn from those mistakes.
And I mean, the Patriot and the Compass sell, look, you know, they're not great cars, but they sell okay because they're cheap. They're cheap all-wheel drive cars. With
Yeah.
the
Jeep lease is
with
cheap
the
to get
Jeep,
in.
with the Jeep name on it, so this is going to be that.
Yeah, I'm just worried they don't have any good powertrain for this car. I
Yeah.
mean, the Chrysler doesn't have one competitive four-cylinder engine.
You're
And,
right. It looks like this car is going to be either a 1.4 liter with a turbo with a stick. I don't think you can
and
get that.
front-wheel drive.
Right, and that would be all right.
Yeah.
You know, that engine with a stick is okay, but
Right.
2%, I'm making up some number, but no one will buy it with a stick. The other engine's going to be the 2.4 liter with the 9-speed automatic.
Yeah, I mean, those powertrains are, they're not competitive. Not in fuel economy, not in anything else.
No, not in noise or
No.
no. What do you?
It just doesn't do anything for me. It looks kind of watering down the Jeep brand.
You know, it's funny. Looking at the online forums, I saw the car first came out, and people were like, "What the hell is that?" Well, you know, Jeep's watering down the brand. But Jeep, the power of the brand is so strong that once you go a couple pages into these posts, and people, "Oh, Jeep," and you know, by the end, everyone's like, "Take my money."
But
you
how
know, I'm
long-
so excited for this. You know, it's.
You introduce a lot of these though, and you introduce a lot of warmed over Fiats or something like that, and then you start sullying the brand. And I don't know if Wrangler and Grand Cherokee, can hold it up. You know, it's getting bodies into it, but just slapping 1941 and a grill and stuff on it doesn't make it a Jeep. A Jeep, you know, historically.
Most people don't need it to be a full body Jeep.
And no, they don't. But I don't know. Maybe this would be better as a Chrysler or something like that versus a Jeep. You know,
It will be.
You know.
There's going to be
Well,
the Fiat 500X, sister vehicle.
Oh gosh, I mean, that's my biggest worry is the 500L we tested was not a great car. But again, let's hope they learn some lessons and it works out. You know, when we get to drive it, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier in the beginning, we got a lot of comments from Volt owners that kind of took us to task for our green car pick. From YouTube, from TechNam Twin. The comments they made about the Chevy Volt are untrue. The Volt's electric range covers over 80% of everyone's driving it, making it overall much more efficient than the Prius. 270 pound-feet of torque, it's also quicker. The fact it's aesthetically pleasing doesn't hurt either. We can debate that. From Dylan Lowoe, excuse me for saying that wrong. Unfortunately, CR still doesn't get the Volt. 67% of the time you're driving electric. When you go beyond electric range, you're probably doing it on the highway where you get 41 miles per gallon. The 32 combined is essentially meaningless. You have to fit a certain driving pattern for it to be more cost effective, but most people do fit that driving pattern. What do you think?
No, I think he answered his own question because it's all in the driving pattern. I mean, if you can, and the frequency of charging. So if you can maximize using electric drive in the Volt, you're golden. No problem. I mean, it can be an electric car.
I think a lot of people
But-
can, and I
but
think
it's-
that's his point. You know,
Right.
the average commute is 25 minutes, 16 miles. So, you know, a lot of people could just
Well, we
nudge that in.
want to cover more than the average. I mean, 80% of Americans drive 40 miles to work, and 90-something drive 50 miles. So our model was based on 50 miles a day, and that means with 35-mile range, that's 70% electric and 30% gas. So that's our composite here. So I think we're just helping more people here.
What do you think?
if it's a driving style, like you said, you can hypermile something, you can take a Corvette and you can really, make it super efficient because you're, trundling along in sixth gear. It's a normal car. You drive the car normally. You drive it like Gabe said, talk about distances, people's commutes. The Volt, you're dragging around a lot of extra weight for no reason, especially if you're going to be only driving, within the 35-mile range. Then why do I need this motor and all the other things if it's an electric car?
Well, that's the point.
So you're hurting it. You're hurting yourself.
That's the point I have, is that the argument falls apart right there. Is that, okay, so if your argument is most people drive only 35 miles, you never need to use gas, well then why should I even haul around the engine? Why? Then our green, if that's your argument, then our best green car should be a pure electric car.
Yeah, and I said in the last podcast, I could make the case for a Nissan Leaf being the best green car.
I think you could. I mean, also, look, I understand Volt owners love the things. And that makes sense. 80% of them are leased. The leases are highly incentivized. So you're essentially getting a $38,000, $39,000, $40,000 car for $280, $290 a month.
A lot of companies bought them. GE did a big purchase of them and gave them to people who are on the road. So yeah, they're not all just people going out and buying them like a Prius.
Yeah.
There's a little more to the argument there for the Volt owner.
So
and Prius has become such a commodity at this point, and the Volt is it still stands out on the road, and it's it's a nice kind of game to see how much electric miles you can get. And I mean, I get it.
Yeah, no, we get it. Thank you for writing in. Then there was the Tesla. NG Monochrome says, yeah, Teslas are nice when they're not catching on fire. For a group of picks in which reliability is placed above all else, the Tesla is a pick I'd expect from Consumer Reports from Bizarro World. An unreliable car is one thing, but I'd rather get stranded rather than engulfed in flames.
Do we really need to address this?
I don't think we do, because a Tesla owner takes care of it pretty well.
Well, let's just say this. I mean, we have 637 owners of Tesla that reported to us about the reliability of their cars. And just like any other car, average reliability, test score as such, car is recommended. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
There are some fires. There are, they aren't bursting into flames. As an owner replied to him, Matthew Cooper on YouTube said, I own two and I'm still alive. But if you listen to the press, my whole family, neighbors, and friends would all have died a terrible burning death. As it is, you cannot have a safer car in the Tesla, as there have been no deaths, unless your car had mythical powers of healing. Which I thought is pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Next question. When we did the last episode, we had our BMW 3 Series diesel parked behind us. Elo Mirza, as well as a few other people, asked, just what the heck is leaking from the BMW? There are puddles underneath it.
Oh, it just came from the car wash, I think.
It just came from the car wash. Yeah. That's right. And we tried to clean up the puddles. We didn't get them all.
Yeah. It wasn't a fuel cell hydrogen vehicle.
It wasn't urea, that's for sure.
No, it wasn't urea. It was that it had come from the car wash. So nothing bad there.
Nothing gets by our viewers either.
No, they don't. They're sharp.
Yeah.
They're sharp. Wells 306 on YouTube says, and this is in reference to a question we answered on the last show about a guy, you might remember, a guy living in Minnesota. He was trying to choose between a Genesis and a Sienna.
Yeah.
I'm surprised some of the people writing in for the questions aren't considering a Subaru Outback, especially the guy in Minnesota. A lot of room, practical, safe, and also fuel efficient.
Sure, it wasn't on his list, that's all. But knock yourself out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't here. The two cars in question, a little odd.
Some people mentioned that on YouTube too.
Thinking of a motorcycle or Winnebago, which one does
Winnebago.
best?
I'm always for Winnebago. I'm always for Winnebago.
Not aluminum. Yeah, I'll tell you what, one thing at the Outback that I was really surprised at the redesign, when it came out a couple of years ago, was that we had an X5, and I drove up in the X5 and swapped it for the Outback. I had to take the wheel off my bicycle to fit it in the back of the X5 with the seats down. The Outback swallowed it. I mean, that's such a well-proportioned car, so roomy. It's surprisingly roomy. Got a little odd looking with the redesign for the previous generation, maybe an eye of the beholder, but super versatile.
Yeah, they're tremendously practical cars.
Yeah.
In fact, we asked on Facebook before top picks, we asked for the people's top pick, and the Subaru Outback won. It is a very practical, very versatile, very it's a very clever car. It's not the plushest, it's not the fastest, it's not the most economical, but it's really practical. Does a lot of things well.
And the redesign's coming.
A redesign is coming soon, and we've seen that early legacy, and it will.
Looks better.
It will be, and it will be more refined, and they'll improve the infotainment and stuff.
Yeah, you should be able to carry your phone.
Yeah, should be. One last question from Jimale71 on YouTube. Tom, you're bashing your Durango. Do you have regrets on yours, or are you just referring to the new model? He's talking about in the top pick episode where I said we're not sure about Durango reliability.
Yeah, it's because after the freshening and with the 8-speed automatic and with the new interior and more advanced electronics and different shifter and such and whatnot, so we have to wait.
Yeah, we don't know. And I mean, like I said, the Grand Cherokee after its refresh really wasn't good. Personally, I'm very pleased with my Durango. It has 39,000 miles on it. The only thing that's been done to it is it needed a replacement drive shaft bearing. And again, we beat on the thing.
This is not the classified here.
Tommy's looking to buy our tester, so if you're interested.
I'm not putting it up for sale. I admit if I did it next time, I'd probably do a Grand Cherokee because it's just a bit smaller, even though it doesn't handle as well or ride as well, and it's not as good of a value, which someone else mentioned on YouTube.
Just buy our Grand Cherokee diesel when we're done with it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a later episode. We're almost done with the testing of that. I don't know. I really like the Hemi. I mean, we've driven one Hemi paired with the 8-speed, and it was sweet. It was really, really nice. So, no, still happy with the Durango.
Now I know why you asked. Is 3-cylinder is enough?
That's right, because I'm here saying eight, which is more than the Maserati. Eight is enough for me. So there we go. We'll go back to the 70s TV reference. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Again, we want to thank everybody for their comments. We want to thank everyone for listening, for that silent majority out there on iTunes. Thank you so much. Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to reach us by Twitter. I'm at CRCarsTom, or you can get a hold of Gabe or John. So thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.